guys, and welcome to Flock Talk. Today we're going to be doing a training tutorial on how to teach your bird to lay in your hand. There's two different methods to this that I'm going to go over today, and they both have about 4 basic steps. First step is getting them used to your hand being over them. The second is getting them used to your hand touching their backs. The third is them flipping over, and then the fourth is them getting comfortable enough to let go of your hand. You only need one thing for this tutorial. All you need are treats and you need a bird. You can use a clicker, and I'm going to explain how you hold a clicker as we progress. Okay, so in this tutorial, the clicker I'm going to recommend you use if you decide to use a clicker is a closed clicker, not an open one. The reason for this is that you're going to be working with very close proximity to your bird, and open clickers are very, very loud. You don't want to be damaging their eardrums or stressing them out with the noise that loud close to them, so it's really recommended that you use a closed button clicker for this because they're a lot quieter. You can just use the word good, which is what I ended up doing in this tutorial. I ended up just not using a clicker at all because I find it to be quite a bit of a hassle. Now if you're working with a larger bird like a cockatoo, a macaw, or an Alexandrian, any of those guys, you may need to hold on to their feet when you're doing this process, just because I find they tend to have a bit more difficulty hanging on to things when you're tipping them over, while smaller birds tend to just naturally hold on. The first method we're going to go over is one I personally prefer to use, and in this method you get the bird to lean over by themselves and introduce your hand from underneath. And so how you do this is you have the bird on your hand and you gently tip your hand just a little bit, reward them, tip it a little bit more, reward them, and a little bit more each time until they're comfortable being parallel to the floor. When you have them like that, you can start to introduce your hand from underneath. You're going to start quite a distance away. Just put your hand underneath them, click, and reward. And over time you're gradually going to move the hand that's underneath them just a little bit higher each time until you can lightly touch their backs. And when that happens, you're just going to repeat that process, gently touching their backs until they're comfortable enough to let go of their feet. You don't want to be prying their feet off, you don't want to be grabbing them and ripping them off your hand. You're just going to let them decide when they're comfortable enough to let go. The second method that I find doesn't work quite as well is introducing your hand from above. And the reason why I don't think this method works all that well in comparison to others is this can be very, very threatening to birds, having a giant claw-like shape come down from on top of them. So I really recommend you guys try the first method before attempting this one. So with this, what you do is the same process, only you're introducing your hand from above the bird. Same thing, reward them for being way above them, move a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, until you can have your hand resting on their back without them trying to bite your hand or anything. If they are biting your hand, you're just going to ease off a little bit and let them decide and tell you that they're comfortable enough to be moving on. Once they're letting you touch their backs without biting or showing signs of fear or aggression or discomfort, you can start to do the same steps as before. Gradually tip them and reward, gradually tip them a bit more and reward, and then tip them until they're completely flat on their backs, and you just keep doing that until they're comfortable enough to let go of their own feet, again, not prying them off. So that is the entire process. It is quite a long process for some birds, and I don't recommend you do it if your bird is not comfortable being touched. This is a little bit of a trickier behavior to learn for some birds because some birds just do not like being touched at all, and that's completely a species preference thing. All birds can learn this concept, it just takes a lot of careful training to get them comfortable enough with being touched, and it takes a lot of operant conditioning to get there. So really make sure that during this process you're taking it really slow, you're watching their body language, you're not forcing them into doing things that they don't want to do. Make sure you're really listening to them, and if they're going to bite you or if their eyes are dilating and they're telling you no, just back off a couple steps, try again, go a little bit slower, just that way they're completely confident and comfortable during this process. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If there are training tutorials you would like to see me do in the future, feel free to leave a comment down below and I will add it to the list. Thank you so much for joining me here, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!